Here's a question and an exercise for you. What do you want? Easiest question in the world. What would make you happy or excited or motivated or just relieve boredom right now? If you thought there was going to be a trick to this question, then you were right. Of the things that you want, which of those are important? Suddenly requires a little bit of extra brain power to consider what you want against something. Something that's supposed to tell you whether what you want is important or not. I guess for some people, this will come from something external, but you know that I will tell you that the source of your importance is the life plan that you've already developed and that you're constantly questioning and improving, right? But even without a life plan, I bet a lot of the things that you want are important in some way. Maybe not all of them, but they're probably fulfilling some purpose for you. Even if what you're doing might be better aligned to that purpose by doing something a little or a lot differently. Now tell me, which of the things you want has become or has always been a distraction? Things that take up more time in your life than you want. The things you do to avoid the important things that you want to do but don't. Distractions are a poison in our lives. They're a poison because when we think about them, they're things we don't even actually want, even if their beginning was in a want. Unfortunately, because we often fail to admit this to ourselves, it keeps us from doing something about it. But there's hope if we do, both for the distraction becoming something positive again, and for the increased focus in your life on something you actually want or is important. Distractions are the lowest priority things in my life, but exist in such quantity and availability that they become the constant companion to my life, which makes them quite dangerous in how much comfort they provide, especially when the baseline of your life is the psychological discomfort of not being immersed in a life that you truly find meaningful. That's something close to real pain. And the side of myself that wants to keep me in the safe, everyday, normal routine and away from the type of discomfort that's safe and progressive loves distractions. They're easy, they seem to fulfill some want, and they're always available. Don't spend energy working for the future, James. Just take this short-term, quick fix and forget about that for one more day. You deserve it. In the world of wants, we shall return to you, distractions, for thou art evil, and we must exorcise thee. When it comes to making changes in our lives, we need to at least have a bird's eye view of what we're actually doing. Something to go along with our vision for the future and our plan for the present. And it needs to be honest. We also need to understand what we're not doing. Not FOMO, but I'm talking about the things that we're not doing that are actually important to us. Knowing what we're actually doing is the very beginning of life math, something that too few of us actually do, and thus have a potentially less objective view of ourselves. And knowing what we want is an important part of that math because it helps shed some light on what we do or will do in the future. We need to make some sort of decisions about the meaning of these wants without the stress that occurs when we're really wanting them. In doing so, we reassert influence over what's become normalized in our lives. Otherwise, it's like going grocery shopping when you have no idea what you want for dinner and you're super hungry. If I don't leave eating a bag of potato chips, then some miracle has occurred. What we consciously want is not necessarily the beginning of the chain reaction that led to the want. What we want also has a lot to do with what stories we believe in life. I truly believe that exercise is good for many aspects of my well-being, and thus I do it. But even without truly understanding our own present life story, knowing what our wants are can help us reverse engineer what we actually believe today. And what's most important in the right now is how we relate to the desires we currently have and where those desires end up. Not all your envisioned and planned life story will come from the imagination of the ideal future you. In fact, a huge amount of it will come from the experiences of present you. Just like in doing a life planning exercise, you have to honor what you enjoy doing now and is working now in your plan, and not just reprogram yourself like a robot. In 1 year, I will be sexy, cool, and rich. 3 great values. But feeling good about yourself, being accepted, and feeling safe are important. Here's the critical divergence from our wants to actual outcomes. As I see it, what you want can become something in your life that's important, something that's a reward, or something that's a distraction. We're willing to put in the hard work for the important when it's a story we believe in. We love rewards. They feel great, and we should be intentional in how we use them. But we don't want distractions at all. I feel like a common reaction will be that you do want distractions, that they're important and they serve some purpose. They let me loosen up and not take life so seriously. I can feel some inner me trying to justify their existence. But no, you don't want distractions. You want rewards, yes, not distractions. Think again about that core logical fault we all tend towards, to justify what we're already doing instead of just accepting a problem when we see it, even if we don't know how to solve it. Rewards are the places you'll go to thank yourself for working hard on the important things. I was thinking about giving up coffee this morning as an experiment to write about on this channel. But then I did a bunch of work to prepare my workspace, and as I sat down to edit this script, I thought, nah. At the thought of a world of going without coffee, it became a clear reward. Some things thank themselves when they're in good alignment with our chemical emotions and our psychological feelings about what we've just done. Example. I went for a bike ride a few days ago that wasn't too long, so when I got home I wasn't totally in the red, and I finished the ride racing hard. And for that, I got about 30 minutes where I felt like an absolute animal. All those famous endorphins. And then I crashed. I didn't necessarily need a reward though. My body gave it to me for free. What I needed was probably more calories and a better base level of fitness. When things don't align this physiologically well, then we can use the things we want as rewards for doing important things. Because unfortunately, we don't always want important things, at least not in the short term. We can fix that, but it takes a deep immersion into our life story and actually doing things in reality to start believing in its importance. That's the true understanding we should all be looking for when it comes to things that are objectively important. Truly understanding isn't knowing, it's doing or not doing. Rewards are extremely important. Everybody has them. They might be tied to what you think of as distractions, but you need to untie them. Rewards are healthy. Distractions are unhealthy. A reward could be a cookie. A distraction could be a box of cookies. Personal example. I love watching the New England Patriots, an American football sports team. They play once a week, and I look forward to that game the entire week. I'm not joking. If you don't like sports, just understand that some of us see it as an exciting form of human drama. But the entire week between games, there's a constant barrage of content created and published to keep other people like me listening who can't wait for the next game. Some of it's interesting, but almost none of it is important. What's important to the next game is what the players on the team are doing to prepare for the next game, which I have no control or influence over. And what happens in the next game, I just have to wait to watch. What I want is to watch emotional human drama. Watching one game a week is my biggest reward at the moment. Watching that game is important to my life as a big reward, and that encourages me to work hard throughout the week. But that only really works when I acknowledge I should and do work hard throughout the week to earn it. The honest evaluation of whether I have or have not helps keep me honest in my motivation and urgency. And consuming endless content and drooling over new videos being released throughout the week on YouTube is a distraction to earning that reward. One cookie versus a box of cookies. I prefer sports that only play once per week for that reason. Baseball, for example, games happen 5 times per week. It's only ever a fight against distraction. It's your constant, comfortable companion. Just like a cookie a day, every day, is probably actually a distraction too. You're creating a habit that probably makes it harder to align back to solid life foundations. In this case, your health. Or if I look at my own life, maybe all those cups of coffee. Did I give myself a reward this morning with my coffee, or just pay the coffee tax of my life? In order to figure that out, I have to go without. And in the same way, I'm demonizing the daily cookie here as a probable negative. Only you can make those judgments. Drinking beer is objectively unhealthy for your liver. It's a toxin, and it's known to be a risk to many people's lives. But is going out with your friends and having some a habit that's healthy or unhealthy? Is having a beer after finishing painting the house healthy or unhealthy? Whether these things are rewards for your efforts or distractions pulling you off course is something you are responsible for. And that requires your objective and honest commitment to your own life math. I use passive entertainment, Netflix, YouTube, to relax at the end of the day some days. But I also read to end the day most days. They're both a sort of entertainment reward, but in my story about life, one is a cookie and the other is a bowl of oats with some peanut butter. On the other hand, these are just my own solutions according to what I've identified as important to myself and that work for me at the moment. What works for you right now is highly likely to be different. And figuring out your own way to solve a problem is actually the fun part. So sure, take ideas from other people, but get personal and enjoy solving things your way, so long as they're done with integrity to the fundamental principles that keep your efforts from just being monuments only to individualism, instead of to yourself and a higher quality society and world. But while personal solutions can be unique, needing to know what we're doing in our lives is common. We can't get around it. We need to know what we're objectively doing, and we need to identify what those things mean to us. Among our wants, we need to have a jar of rewards that we keep sacred to us and are things we earn and always taste good because we honor and respect them. I want sitting down to watch a football game to be great, not like one more thing keeping me from doing what's important, or something that will inspire me to be distracted every day the rest of the week. I have to go out and work hard to protect that. And on the opposite end, we need to have a trash bin for our wants too. Things we do in our life that we can consciously acknowledge to ourselves that this isn't something I want to keep doing, so I will find a way to do less of it. It's critical we've used our big brains to decide these things in advance, because when they happen, we'll already know what we think long term about them, and we won't just be left with that short term default normalized choice. We won't always make that considered decision, but over time, those two interactions will meld into a new belief about what you're doing in your life. Accept this. Distractions are the trash bin of your life. They're not rewards. You don't want them. They're the friend of that overly protective person that lives in your head that doesn't want you to ever completely apply yourself because they're afraid of failure and just wants to be comfortable all the time until you die wondering, what if? What if you had spent more time living the life you actually wanted? But to turn the volume down a little, distractions will happen regardless, and they won't necessarily be catastrophic. My ideal vision of myself reads every night, but sometimes I'm caught by something else. Escapism is a thing. And you also need to speak understandingly and lovingly to that inner you that wants to seek comfort until you die, and come to a win-win agreement with them. What that win-win agreement looks like is uniquely you, and thus your responsibility. Things that you know are distractions are always a poison, but sometimes you can take a distraction and dial it down in your life and exercise its demons so it can become a reward again. If you've listened to this point and you think, okay, this makes some sense, don't just go on to the next YouTube video about whatever. Get a piece of paper, open notes on your computer. Make a list of your everyday life wants. Make a list of which wants are important, which could be some or many of your wants, but hopefully even a few things you can admit are beyond things you want today, because that's growth potential. And then list your wants that are just a distraction. Maybe I want it, but it's not important and it's not functioning as a reward. It's working against what I actually want. Just that conscious acknowledgement alone will create a problem that's very personal to you and you will solve, even if the hard ones take years or decades. One day, future you will say, "Gosh, I'm glad I was honest with myself and kept testing solutions against my reality until I finally started believing in a different life story that allowed me to let that go." And one last important point about this list: those wants that aren't in your important list, but also aren't in your distraction list, might be great rewards. Keep them sacred. This is absolutely not the end of this conversation, because actually implementing big changes can be difficult. But again, you have to start with some high level understanding of what you're actually doing in your life. You might surprise yourself how your habits begin to change just from having made a personal decision on what's important or not to your life. Sometimes we're just a little too tired to think about what we could do that's more important than our distractions. That's why I keep reinforcing that it's essential that you have visual cues in your life about what you've decided. Pin up that piece of paper you wrote what's important on so that you see it. Like I've said before, companies are spending billions of dollars to get their messaging in front of your face. Why aren't you doing the same for free? We get caught up in the black and white of doing versus not doing, but imagine you spend half as much time on a distraction and twice as much time on something that's important, just because you're generating influence on your own life. That halving of a distraction and doubling of what's important would be a huge shift, even though you might not have completely eliminated the distraction. I can even turn some things that would otherwise be distractions, like some of my junk sports content, into semi-rewards by combining my listening with some things that I've identified as important but are semi-brainless, like stretching and other rehab, or movement where I'm mostly maintaining and don't need that much focus. It's not necessarily my own idea of a great practice, but it's better. And great only becomes an opportunity by focusing on the work of getting better instead of worrying about the outcome of being or doing great. Conclusion: consistently better is great. Knowing what we want, knowing what's important, and knowing what's functioning as a reward and what's functioning as a distraction in our lives. All these things are fundamental to making progress. And how these wants affect your progress is an important problem because it's deeply personal. The sooner you solve it, the sooner you benefit from solving it. And many of the things in our lives only have to be solved one time. Making progress is difficult, but maintaining is fairly easy. And I think these progressive solutions are the only thing you can do to affect that deep psychological discomfort of not being immersed in your own vision of a meaningful life. Something that's real pain, and something that we will do everything we can to distract ourselves from. That dreaded future you deathbed experience that you didn't try your best in life to be you. Fuck that. Label your distractions. Label your rewards, and label what's important. See your life more clearly and run the experiment and see what changes. I promise you it will help. And in a future video, I'll help you build your own personal accountability to these things in a rewarding way. Do the exercise, then go have a reward. Peace out.